Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in this video I will explain for you the simple way how you can design a RESTful API if you start your career as backend developer or any someone who interested with the software and how to build effective API. So let's go. I want to just make a full screen. So let's know how we can design RESTful API. And let's start. First, we have something called resource. And here, as you can see, for example, you have an e-commerce system and you have different entities, for example, products, orders, categories, cart, order items, payment, review. So different entities. So for for example, each entity, like if you want to create a product or delete or update, edit. So here you just create a product and delete product and update product. That is okay. So, but the problem does not mean any sense, and also it's more complex. For example, you use in the path with this specific HTTP method, but create product and delete product and update product. So this is wrong method. What you should to make is to global in resource, and each resource have different endpoint. For example, this should be called resource of product, other called resource user, and each resource contain different endpoint with different HTTP method. For example, here if I want to get product or the product of the website, I just make product. Here, if I want to post product, I just also keep product. So as you can see here, you see the same name of your entity. So let me resource is more simple to understand and not complex. And for the let's just remove this. So, and for the endpoint that require ID, you can just add an ID for the get if you want to get single ID, and for edit and for remove. So this is first is more simple to understand, not complex as this, and more professional. And when you see this, you just think fast that you are in the product resource. Okay, so start to use and know about resource on your project, and don't make, for example, create product, delete product, update product. So this is really not professional. So let's go to the next topics is the HTTP method, and here use different and depend on the logic. So for example, if you want to get all the product, you can use get. For the create product, use put, and for the post, sorry, and for editing or update some information of product, you can use put. And if you want to destroy or delete or remove product, you can use uh, delete. So this require, as we see, the ID, also this the ID, and this if you want to get single product. So single product should require ID to get specific product. Okay, so this is the most popular HTTP method used on the RESTful API. Also, let's go to the status code, and here a lot of developer miss to expose or display on each response specific status of code, and you should to know about different status of code and when we use each of them. So first we have so there is a lot, but here I just focus on the most important and most used. So here you have 200, that means accepted. So the response just return successfully. We have created. So here, if you want to store something on the database or create something, here 204, that means no content. So and on your response, you don't have anything to return for the user. And specifically this when you want to remove or delete something from the database. So here, for example, not found doesn't mean the items or the row or the data that you want to search or you want to get does not exist. Okay, so this is really important. You should to make case for this. So is 404. So we have also the unauthorized. So does it mean you don't have the access, for example, for your account or make an order or for example make payment. So you should to authenticate, you should to log in or access your account or access the website by some credential. Okay, so unauthorized. And the also status of 403, does it mean forbidden? And a lot of people make confuse between this two state. So forbidden, like you already authenticate on the website, but you don't have some permission to access some protected router. So the authentications, so unauthorized, when you not or don't authenticate on the website, so you don't have permission to access the protected router as user. For example, in the e-commerce system, you can you can't access the order, you can access the, for example, payment or the product or the review. So this is for you don't uh, have an access for some protected router, okay? But the forbidden, some router, some protected router only can have an access by the admin. For example, the dashboard. So if you are normal user, normal client, you don't have permission to access the dashboard of admin. You don't have permission to see all the orders, to see all the payments. So this is only for some roles on the system. For example, like admin of the system can only himself to access for this protected router. So here, for example, if you want to access, for example, the admin path dashboard, you should, and you already authenticate, you already have an account, so here should return forbidden, like 403, and will redirect to the home page. Now we have the also status of code when the so here that does mean internal server error. So some error can't expect. For example, some bugs, something will be wrong, maybe related with the server or related with the database. So this when you unexpect any error, so you should return 500. Also, we have this two stages of code. Does it mean for the 400 bad request and 422 is unprocessable content. So what difference between, so the bad request 400 does mean the request is invalid or malformed. So, for example, if you want to send a request as JSON format, you, for example, and JSON have attribute, and each attribute, so key and value, and each attribute you make data. For example, here name you can make geo, age you can make 26, and the role make user. So, for example, if you miss something, here, for example, you miss semicolon, or for example you miss this. So the request itself is bad format, is uh, really mal format, and here should return bad request and the status code 400, but the 422. So here the request is good format but missing something. For example, for the name you don't make or you don't send a name. So you just keep the name attribute empty. So here the request is well, but I need some data to process. So this is should return 422 unprocessable content. For example, here in the validations, and you make instant to type the name, you just send number. So instant to make geo, you send 123. Okay, so the request is good format but missing something or something wrong on the data of the request. So this is the most status of code that you should to know about it, and you return on each response, and that allow front end also to understand what type of response you should to return. Now also let's go to the uh, consistent response format. So this, what does it mean? Your response should have unique structure for all the resource of your API. For example, here if you can return the response with this structure, this is more better, and also this is good. But the problem here, look at this structure, and this he just named to product, here named to data. So this is really wrong. If you use each of one for different resource, for example, this you use for user, this you use for product, this you use for category. No, if you want to choose that format that help you to make a good structure of your response format, so keep this format same for all the resource of your API. So for example, we want to take this. If you use this with user to display, for example, all the user, you should or you must to use this for all the endpoint and all the resource. For example, you should to return this for users, and also with product, with categories, with orders items, also with review to see all the reviews. So keep the structure of your response same with all endpoint of your API. So here the character of the consistency. Okay, so the response should be the same and with all the endpoint or different resource. So, and what does it mean, the endpoint here? For example, here we have the endpoint to get all the product, the endpoint of get all the reviews, the endpoint of get all the users, the endpoint of get the like categories. So you keep the same structure, and also for the post, and also for the delete and edit or get the product by ID. So also let's move. So what is this? Okay, and here as you can see, this is structure is more organized, more well, easy to understand, and really professional. So for example, if you want to use this for create new items. So keep this same for all the resource. For example, here we want to use this for product. Also make the same structure for users, make the same structure for reviews, make the same structure for orders. So this is more structure, more simple, and also same for different resource. Also here, the structure of when you want something happen wrong and fail. Here the title required and the user miss to send the title. Here you can return response for the both case, first success and second for fail. So here, for example, also add the status of code. For example, here 201, that means created new items, and here title is required. Make status of code. Status of code is 422. So the does mean JSON or the request is well formatted but missing something or some attribute. So this is for the consistency. Now the topics of the version of your API. So the versioning. So versioning is I will make first when start my build my API, make version and name version 1. After, if I want to add or update or for example remove some resource or maybe add an attribute on some entity, so go to the version 2. Why? So let me explain this for you with a simple example. So for example, you build an API, and here let's focus that you don't make a version. Okay, so you build an API for your e-commerce, and here you make product attribute, here the name and the price and the ID of the product, and you just let the front end get your API and use and fetch the data, and almost done. After 1 month or maybe 2 months, you just think and you know that you want to change name. This is not professional for product, so the product should be title. So here you want to go direct and change the attribute of product from name to title. Okay, but the problem here, the front end still use name and don't know that you change to title. Also, without version, if you want to know the last for example version of your API, you don't know because you don't have any version. Okay, so on the front end of your page maybe can display some error because, for example, here on the front end should to access the name, and there is no name, there is title, and here the wrong thing can happen on the production. Okay, so what should you use? First, you can start by version 1, okay, and add all your attributes. You can work, but for example, when later you want to add some attribute or change something, you want to make another version of your API and make your change in the second version or the third version. Okay, so and on the front end you will change your API. For example, instant to get the data from this path, you want to change version 1 to version 2, and also change the name to title. So here is easy and well to understand, and also maybe in the future if you want to return to the first version, you can just change the version and change also the attribute. Okay, so try to use the version on your API. So now let's go to the pagination. Pagination is more important, and for example, here we have get product, and here we have get product, and for example, page 2 or page 1, and limit some product with, for example, 12 item. 12 item. So why this is not good or not professional or maybe bad, but itself it's correct. Let's suppose that you have more item on your database or your entities. For example, you have 1 million users, 1 million orders, for example, also 1 million product. So if you want to display all the product at the same time, this what does it mean? The database will read, so it will take time. The server will serialize the response. The response or the data will be traversed through the network and rendered by the client or the browser. Okay, so this take a lot of time. And what does it mean take a lot of time? Not for just wait, also take a lot of time from the CPU, from the RAM. So really not professional. So try, for example, to make pagination, get few items and try to put in different page. For example, the first page, try to return 20 product or 20 user or 20 orders. For the second page, the same 20 product, third page, etc. until you complete all the data of your entity. So here we have product. So try to use the pagination. Pagination is more important. Don't try to get all the data from your database at the same time at once. So this is really kill your server and your database. So try to, for example, limit your items product per page. So here, for example, we are in the second page, and let display or limit product with 12 or 20 items or product. So this is more fast to display, and also does not make more operations and does not make more work on the server side. So the CPU don't make a lot of work to render 20 product. Also for the RAM. So we have another things called filtering. So this is, for example, if I want to get product by category. Okay, so I want to get product specific to unique category. For example, I want to get the product related with the phone category. So if you make this is really not professional and does not make any sense, but the true or the professional way. So you can first specify the resource. So here product, and add the parameter. Inside the parameter, add your value. Okay, so this what does it mean? Does it mean is I want to get just the product related with the phone category. Also here you can, for example, product you want to make for the category phone, PC, microphone. Okay, also you can change. You can filter by sort, and here include the items or the attribute, for example, the price. Also search, if you want to search specific items. Here you can add iPhone or Samsung or MacBook, So this for the filter, and you should to know about how you can use the parameters. This is more important. Don't try to product by categories. This is wrong and not professional. So now we go to the idempotency. So idempotency, I just simplify for you. For example, let's take an example of e-commerce, and after place an order, you want to pay. Now you click to the pay button on the front end. After, for example, the payment was update, and when the server will send the response, here for example have an issue of the internet and you don't receive the response from the user that the payment successful. Now what do you think? You think that you uh, don't make payment. So you try another request. So click on the payment button and you send another request, and here the server handle this request as a new request. So he make another charge, and maybe you can make this a lot of time, maybe 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. So the some resource or specifically endpoint should be uh, idempotency. So what does it mean, idempotency? Does it mean we want to duplicate, we want to, sorry, to avoid the duplication of some endpoint request. So we want to avoid duplication request for some endpoint. And here, for example, the product for the payment, we want to, for example, when user make the first request, okay, the server change, check all the database record and update the status to successful. After, if the network has some issue and don't get the response, when the client send another request, for example, here don't handle this request. And how the server know? The server know by the idempotency key. So when you make a new request for the first time, it generates this key. For the second, if you send the idempotency and the server check if this key I saw before or not. If I saw, I don't, I stop and I don't make any change and I don't process any operations. So, but for your first time, it's normal. So the first handle the operations because the key is not duplicated. Okay, so this make the character of idempotency for the payment and also for the orders, because the user can maybe duplicate the same orders and he wants just one orders. So idempotency, the summary that you should return is avoid to duplicate request when something happened wrong, for example, the network issue. So this just an example. So maybe you can think about create an account, but when you create an account, there is the email unique attribute. So on the email, we want to make a unique attribute. So the email should be unique. Here, we don't need to make the post or, for example, create an account idempotency because the email will be unique. So for the second time, if you want to register, so and you put or send the same email, the server automatically return with response this email is exist before. Okay, so this is the idempotency. Now, for example, for the orders. Now for the orders, For example, here, I don't know why but let's keep like that. So here, create an order, okay? This is an example of does not apply the idempotency uh, character or idempotency uh, uh, character. So when you want to create an order, first order created, so the server created order. The second, you send another request and the order created another, the server created another order. Okay, so he had duplicated an order for you and you want just one order, but with the idempotency, uh, the first create an order, so the server uh, creates an order successfully, but the second, when you want to make another create an order, the server remember the idempotency key. So track duplicated request and here stop, does not or don't make any order, don't change anything on the database. So the character of idempotency is must to know as backend developer and specifically on the order or the payment entities. So try to avoid duplicated requests. Also, let now, so this is the centralized error response. And now we go to the documentations. So if your API is not documented, it effectively does not exist for other developers. So what does mean documentation? Documentation just you should to write how your API works, what type of requests you should for other developer if you want to use your API, like what type of request should send, what type of response should return, also what type of ID or the parameters to get specific items, and the documentation allow other developers to understand easy and fast your API without asking you what is this return, what is this return, how I can send a request, what is the format of your request. So, and here you can use Postman or Swagger. So Postman is tools or software popular to build API, also to test your API and make a documentation of your API. For the documentation, I can just make an example of a small project I just make. So here our API, and here different resources. We have an authentication, we have a product. For example, if I want to get all the product, now I want to get the product. So let's see if the server is running. Okay, so the server is running. Stop start. Okay, so the MySQL was not start. So let's stop and make another request to get all the product. So now I think is, so here as you can see, we have the response when we want to get all the data. Here I use the pagination with 12 items. Okay, so this is the all the attribute or the data of the product. So this is all the product, and I have 20 or something product because the database of this e-commerce system and specifically for the entity product, I had a lot of product, maybe 3000 or something else. So this is for the product. Now for the authentication, for example, for the documentation, and here you can write your documentation. So first you name the endpoint and you make the path, specify the method. For example, the request body. Here the field you for your request display all the attribute of your entity. Here the email and the password. You make the type and if it's required or not, the description. So this is type or maybe structure of your request, and this is for the response. So it return token. Okay. So this allow that the your API more structured, more understand to more easy to understand, and also is more good and more structured. Okay, so this is the most things that you should know about the API. So here you can use Postman and Swagger. In our case, I use Postman because it's simple to use, easy to understand, and I recommend to learn about Postman to build your API, to structure your resource and different endpoint with different uh, HTTP method. So this video is, I hope that uh, know something you didn't know before, and thank you for watching.